Welcome, everyone. This is Piney Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
Sans Winda.
Hello.
And Cinders.
Hello.
Hello. And it is time for us to head into the game news, which seems to be a little bit on the empty side.
That and the site news, yeah.
Yeah, not much happening this week. I believe they were concentrating a lot on DDO this last week because they're currently working on an update for their test builds and all that stuff. So the team is probably concentrating on that at the moment. So not much on the LOTRO side. But we do have a beacon. So let's look at what's in there this week. Now, where is this cover shot?
Hang on, let me get up.
At least it looks like it, maybe.
I had it up and then it closed. Yeah, that's Lake Town.
Oh, right.
Because that's one of the Lake Town bridges in the background, one of the arched bridges.
Yeah. It's the foreground that was puzzling me. That's what.
Well, I think that this is up closer to the master's house.
Ah, okay. For our community spotlights, Wandering Around Arda is a blog about, wandering elf roaming through the Middle Earth. The blog includes outfits, screenshots, and more. Outfits? Have you had a look at this, Terry?
Oh, of course I have.
Okay. And anything you got to say about it?
I think a couple of outfits have been featured before on Cosmetic LOTRO. Some good stuff. Anyway.
Some good stuff. All right. And then...
Not going into specifics, because then people wouldn't have a reason to check out the site.
You got a point there. Then... Paul Noluni has come out with a new music video titled Winter. That's for the people who either are wanting a little bit of cooling off because of warm weather, or do they live in the southern hemisphere? And are you a new player looking for complete deeds for some extra LOTRO points? You could check out Fiber Jedi's Shire Deeds Guide and Overview to learn more about that.
Yeah. Something that he retweeted again recently. I mean, the guide's been up for a little while, but it never hurts to have extra LOTRO points. Especially because summer's coming and people have extra time on their hands, and now's a good time to grind LOTRO points because we're between updates.
Yeah.
And these are easy ones. I find the Shire ones really relaxing. I mean, I'm okay running mail.
You're okay running mail. All right.
Well, I mean, I've done the Shire Metadeed like many, many, many times, so.
Yeah. And a player-created and hosted Google Map of LOTRO has been updated with areas for Update 22, and has some really nice features to that. Only Update 22? Let's see. Actually, it looks like it's got...
Yeah, it was up to date until Update 22 came out.
Okay, because...
So they added the new stuff.
All right. It does also include the Update 23 thing. It sounded like that they only, well, the wording in the beacon it sounded like it only had Update 22 stuff in there on top, but they did also add Update 23.
Ah.
So that's good to see. So there's this. All right, let's have a look then. What else we have got in the beacon? Well, that's it for the for the community spotlight. So let's head into the Kin Hall, where Random Dudes Incorporated is a new kin on the Crick Hollow server. They are looking for players interested in questing, deeds, and skirmishes. Please feel free to send them a tell on Randolph the Wise or Baradeth for more information. So now comes for our weekly comment. What is your favorite buff or boost?
Well, I know the Pine Leaf answer to this. That'd be mark acquisition. Actually, my favorite buff recently has been the fall immunity that we keep getting in the free samples.
Oh yeah, those bandages are really awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Actually, I was thinking of Forced March.
I like Hunty Leafy Feet because it's shared.
Well, yes.
But Force March is faster, which is cooler.
Right. Of course, those are class dependent. When I'm playing a hunter, obviously Leafy Feet is my favorite. When I'm playing a warden, Forced March is my favorite.
You know, when I first saw the question, though, my first thought was the sad panda.
Oh,
Just for the amusement feature of it. It's not really, I guess, a buff or boost.
that's more of a debuff.
It's kind of more of a debuff, but it's still the tooltips. Actually, all the tooltips that pop up under your name after you drink out of one of the kegs that send you places are pretty awesome.
My favorites are the XP boosts, and then if we're talking class specific, my favorite for the lore master is the one that you get when you have your bear out if you're traded blue line. I think it's called Feral Bear or something like that. It makes your morale much nicer.
Ah. In Fansite news, Andan continues its adventures in Mordor, Part 53, Sauron's Salamanders. And Gamulio Dan defeats stone giants at Amon Molth in his newest episode, Part 112 of his Let's Play series. The Dove has started a new stream where he is leveling a lore master. So you can watch his low-level adventures by clicking on the link in the beacon. A new Adventures of Eladon's Outriders has been posted. And you read about their experiences in episode 68. And Lucy plays her low-level hunter on Arkenstone on the stream. Once again in the beacon. And as for our screenshot of the week, it looks like that we are in Southern Mirkwood, if I see that properly.
Yeah. That's the path running through Erin Laskalin.
Oh.
That's the Spring Festival horse, by the way.
Oh, okay, that's the Spring Festival. Oh, that's near Erin Laskalin?
Well, it's through the wood in Erin Laskalin. I think this is actually heading up to that tower. Because the light post has skulls on it.
Okay, I shows you how much I reckon. I was thinking wrong part of.
I pay attention to this sort of thing.
But the fires along the side look like that one trail in Southern Mirkwood.
That's why I was thinking Southern Mirkwood is because of the way the trail looked.
I'm sure
They're both
somebody will
Mirkwood,
correct
though.
me.
Yeah, it's somewhere in Mirkwood. Okay, we at least agree on that count. Let's then head out and look at the sales for this week. And Terry, what's for sale?
We've got 20% off some quest packs, the 100% XP boost, Mithra coins, woohoo! And Max Morale and Power Scrolls. And the weekly coupon gets you plus 5,000 enhanced reputation supply times 1 with coupon code MOREREP. Now through June 28th.
Sweet.
I know. I need to remember to snag that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about myself. I just have to remember, all right, which character should get this? Let's then head into our new player question. And who has a question this week?
I put in a question about food. When you're selecting food for your character, what do you pay attention to the most, and or how do you select the best food for your character?
For cooked food, I look for the morale heal out of combat because, first of all, you're eating out of combat, and second of all, you want to heal up in between combat rounds so that you can get to the next combat thingy faster. And then for trail food, you check stats, like whichever stat is most appropriate for your character. So if you're on a heavy armor class, it's usually going to be might. The light armor classes are going to want will or sometimes fate. And then the medium armor, it's usually agility, with the exception of the bar.
But
The OP balls need might.
If you are someone who is tanky, you might be wanting to look at vitality instead if you have to make a choice of one or the other. Sometimes vitality is moot. Either vitality isn't a choice, or sometimes it's vitality plus something else, depending on the tier of the crafting.
Yeah.
See, I've always looked at the in-combat morale region when I'm choosing my food, because typically, if I'm needing to eat food, it's because something's hitting me, and that's the bigger problem than healing up between for me. So,
yeah, I tend to go for in combat myself.
I used to, and then somebody told me that the out of combat is actually better, and that argument made sense. Because in combat, I'm usually getting healed by something anyway.
Yeah, well, I think I very rarely have a case where I'm needing the extra speed in recovering between combat rounds. I think it's because it probably depends on your character, on how your situation typically at the end of combats.
Yeah.
and both types of food would buff both, so.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you have one that is better at in combat, one that's better at out of combat, and one that's a mixture in between. Is that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now, there are other pieces of food that you could also have. There is coffee, for example. If you don't have a friendly hunter with you, that could come in handy. And that gives you an extra little speed boost. There is also soup. And soup, it's just, well, grab whichever one. If there's a certain type of debuff that you get the more often, then that's the soup you take, because it gives you a little bit of extra resistance against one, and then gives you a bonus against all of them. So therefore, a little soup is nice also. And you can have soup. There's no trouble having soup, having a stat, and having regular food at the same time. With the coffee, you can have it at the same time as you have a stat boost, but it shares the cooldown with them, so you'll have to wait for the other one before you could use it.
Right.
Okay.
And that's our new player question. So it's time for our week in LOTRO. And Cinders, what were you up to?
Well, I did a couple of different things. Probably the most exciting and almost the most recent was that I got to join an Abyss of Mordath raid led by Ploy. I was invited, and I had a whole lot of fun. We made it through the first two big bosses and the trash mobs leading up to them. And with the second big boss, at one point, my bear actually outlived myself, everybody else in the raid, and one of the other lore masters, bear named Lucky. So I was very proud of my bear. I'm not entirely sure how it happened, but it was quite exciting because Lucky's pretty famous. And in order to be able to be effective in the Abyss of Mordath raid, I needed to do a little bit of work on my gear. And so I did some questing in the Mirkwood area in northern Mirkwood for Men of Dale rep. And I was being very good. I did not mess with the black book that I'm working on with Sands and Pineleaf, but I did do some unauthorized questing. And then I was looking for crafting mats, and I discovered that there are barrows in the Antwash Vale in in the Rittermark. And so I think it's Eastern Rohan as well. But that was a surprise to me. I was not expecting to find a barrow there. I thought they were all pretty well in earlier areas. So that took me by surprise. But with a 115 character, it was a piece of cake. Sanswinda, what were you up to?
Well, I got my last trait point for Sans this week, and learned that epic battles can be kind of fun. I mean, I guess I've kind of been learning that, and I had a blast taking a group through at level 10, and we were running around being chased in a conga line, and that was great. But
is that your?
that was a long time ago. But this time, I actually was starting to get a feel for, like, where are the mobs coming from? Where do I need to go? How do you actually get around the glittering caves? I'm still not super good at it, but I've started to notice, like, if you see a bunch of dead bodies, don't keep going that way or you'll die, and then that made that more fun because you could know, like, oh, that's the wrong way. I can find the right way. And I can do things, like build and take down the catapults and ballista and barrier things and upgrade their barricades and upgrade their damage and upgrade the types of things that you can shoot out of the catapults and choose different types of powders and blast lots of people from far away. I don't know, it was just kind of more fun being able to do more things. So, yeah, that was cool. And I was shocked because I was running some epic battles with a friend, and then I checked my points, and I had 197 points, and I couldn't believe it, and it was so awesome. And now I think I have 201. So, yeah, I got my last trait point and had fun doing it, which I was not expecting it to actually be fun. I thought it was just going to be a grind. So that was cool. And I did finally play a hunter who only has 46 trait points, so less than 80 trait points. And after retrading her, I spent my time exploring Aragian for a port and didn't fight anything, so I can't actually comment on it. But yeah, I did go blue line on her again just to see if I could, and then discovered that I still needed my Aragian port, so that's what I ended up doing. And then I took some trips via kegs and barrels. My burglar on the girls' stream drank from the Sinister keg, and I was slightly disappointed to end up in the very safe location of the Dwelland study library area. But I got lost on my way back to the Ken house anyway, and so I had an adventure there. And then I took a trip by the new apple barrel that I got, and introduced my nephew to it too, and it turns out he could use it, and he ended up in the northern strongholds area on his low-level character, so that was exciting.
Where did you expect it to take him?
Well, I wasn't positive if he could use it or not when I put it there, but I told him he should look at it, and whatever you do, don't hide in that barrel, because it says it's a good hiding spot. He says, hee, and he clicks on it, and then he landed by the waterfall, so it was pretty awesome.
What she's not telling you is that she totally knew that he would do that as soon as she said not to.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that might have been half the fun of that, yeah. But I think he enjoyed it, and he ported himself back before he died. And then my proud moment was I convinced Terry and Cinders to both go on an Abyss of More Death raid, and it was fun. And they should say more about it, though. So, Terry, how was your week?
Well, I'll tell you in a second as soon as I find it in the show notes. Girls have been cleared Weathertop as a fellowship of 4+ OP mini that was a swankily dressed dwarf minstrel. And so this is a highlight because the swankily dressed dwarf minstrel was a bare-chested dwarf wearing the visage of the bear as his helmet, and on his back he had that cloak from Dunland that has the bear on it, and his shield had what looked like the face of a teddy bear on it. And we all thought this was fantastic. And then the person playing this minstrel said that he actually had it at a not bound copy that was shareable because he could pass it around and we could add it to the wardrobe. So that was awesome, except Chromite Swiftpaw, if you're listening, I'm about to read your letter on the air, because when you ask for something from Chromite, he doesn't just send you the item. So we're running around in the stream, and he asked which character to send it to, and I said, well, you can just send it to the character that I'm on, and we'll pass it around, and I'll get it back to you. So I get this letter in the mail, and it says, from Chromiticus to Stealthorella, subject, I am a Hobbiton prince in need of help. And it reads as follows. Hello. You do not know me, but I am Chromiticus Abaca Tunda, a rich Hobbiton, and Hobbiton is spelled with 3 B's. Hobbiton prince who has been separated from his vast funds. Can you please help me be reunited with my mass amounts of gold by investing this shield along with 20 million gold coins at the Milk-Evolving Bank of Gachimone? I would really appreciate it. This mail is for real. Really. It's not spam. I promise. So, yeah, that happened. So after we passed the shield around, I got it back. I sent it back to him along with 1 copper piece and a letter expressing my regret that I couldn't help him more and I hoped his fortunes improved. Yeah. That's the kind of... So I now have the teddy bear shield in my wardrobe. And the next day I promptly logged in Down with Bears, and it's now her favorite new shield. Because Down with Bears has the same helmet and the same cloak. She was just missing the teddy bear shield. So, yeah, I'll be posting a picture to Twitter probably this week with the updated outfit. And then Terry Adwin finished out the Erebor quest line. She had like the best ever dinner party with dwarves. I've got to tell you. Like the best ever dinner party that she's been to was the one with the dwarves in Erebor. And then discovered that she still needs to help that stupid bear in Northern Mirkwood.
Yeah.
So irritated. Because apparently to open the next bit, which is the Lay of Rust and Rhyme, where we get to learn about dragons, I'm hoping, I gotta finish helping that stupid bear. So homework for this week is to go help the bear, because Pineleaf and I haven't done it because we died.
I did it since then.
Oh, you did end up doing it?
Yeah, it's the boss fight seems to be easier than it was before. Getting there is still a humongous big pain, especially one time in there when I did my first attempt at it. I wound up getting 4 enemies at once. I think 2 of them were signatures, and they all had knockbacks, and I couldn't do anything. Well, the trouble with the knockbacks is it kept on interrupting me. It pushed me away from them at critical times. So since healing on the warden is leeching those who are close to you.
Right. And it doesn't help if you're not actually close to them. Yeah. So I have that to look forward to this week. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 highlight, which I saved the best for last, was I joined Ploy on that Tier 1 Abyss raid. I had the best time doing that raid. Like, I have never, ever been so relaxed during even any kind of group content situation. Like, never. It was the most laid back and relaxed thing, and I promise I wasn't drinking. it was such a good group because they're just so casual, and yes, there were wipes. There were several wipes because we beat our heads against that second boss about 6 or 7 times. But it was just this fun atmosphere, and it was really, really awesome. And I started on my Abyss pages, which means now that I've started collecting the Abyss pages, I will have to finish collecting the Abyss pages. So, but yeah, I actually had a really good time because it turns out that second boss, which by the way, has to do with the High Elf intro. So really at some point I should play through it on a High Elf because I'm curious to see if it's any different that way. Anyway, there's a mechanic where the boss has 30 tiers of corruption. So you've got everybody spamming their corruption removal skills, which is fine, except for most people. Most classes have like 30 seconds to a minute cooldown on their corruption removal skills. You know what champions have got? Champions have got a skill that takes off 1 to 3 corruptions every 4.2 seconds.
Right.
So they call it the corruption phase. So the corruption phase with the champion in the group is way shorter than a corruption phase without a champion in the group.
Well, at least then the wardens you can have a warden that's spamming reversal and a champion doing that, and yeah, it'd really be fast.
Yep.
So Pine Leaf, when are you going to go?
Well, that's a good question. Probably the next time I'm invited, because this weekend I wasn't available.
Yeah, well, they've got it up again for next week. I definitely can recommend it because, like I said, it was the super laid back group. I mean, not so laid back that everybody was goofing around, but it was laid back to the point where at one point everybody ran up the stairs and around a corner and like hid, and they didn't tell me where they were hiding, and I was behind because I was kind of check. It was my first time in there, so I was kind of checking out. And so I got a little bit separated. So I'm running back and forth trying to figure out where everybody went. And I see this emote in my window that Finn has beckoned me. So I go running up the stairs to see where he's at. And I ran into the group of mobs that they were very carefully trying to strategize how they were going to pull. It was like, oh, okay, we're going.
That was pretty funny.
Oops.
It's totally our fault because we all were hiding and blending in.
So I was very careful if I got lost after that to just speak up and say, yeah, where is everybody? And then they came and got me and showed me where I needed to be.
Okay.
And whenever you hear follow the jumping Gia, really follow the jumping Gia.
Well, okay.
Spot.
That only works if you can actually see the jumping Gia on your screen, because I was so lost at one point that she said follow the jumping Gia, and there was no jumping Gia for me.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Mine was the only dot in my radar.
Sans has been in there before, and she still got lost.
Okay.
But yeah,
I blame my ultra low graphics that made everything indistinguishable.
like they're serious when they need to be serious, but they're not so serious that you feel stressed and pressured to be on your toes. But no, it's hard to explain exactly why I felt so relaxed, but I really was. I was like, it's like the most relaxed I've ever been in a group situation. So, Pine Leaf, how was your week?
Right. We will begin on Landerville, where after our little... Not for the most recent one, but after one after that, I started doing dailies over in Dol Amroth, which I did in order to get the medium armor set there for cosmetic purposes. So now I have the Dol Amroth set for medium armor in there, and that looks all nice and nifty. And also in that character, I learned the benefit of wildflowers. I had never bothered with them before. I never bothered getting that recipe before. And so having said my character, well, my scholar wasn't high enough on the tiers of farming to get it, but my warden was, so therefore I got the wildflower recipe, and it's a whole lot easier to get dye ingredients with that recipe. I think it's like 10 or 20 times easier to get them than it is with the than it was with just waiting for random drops to come out of other flowers.
Yes. Yes.
So therefore, after all the headaches I had trying to get there, I says, now where am I going to get woad? Well, fortunately, you could get it from the wildflowers, and so that means I saved me the trouble of having to go through all over Area Door looking for a random woad plant somewhere in the field or anything like that, because that's what I was doing at first, and I only found one there. But wildflowers gave me plenty of them, so I was able to get the sea blue dye that I was seeking at the time. And then on my Evernight Warden, I continued along with the epic story and reached Elthangles. And then, not technically, well, I guess in some ways for LOTRO related, and that is that over at Mythmood, I presented a volume 1 of Poems of the Pine over there. And I think it went reasonably well. So therefore, that was a volume 1. Gimborth there, and that was my first presentation that I've made at a Mythmoot.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Now I just have to think of what do I do for next year. So, we currently have 20 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious array of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. And this week we have 2 emails. And Cinders, could you read the first one?
Definitely. So the first one said,
You cut off there.
I didn't actually cut off. I had to figure out how to quit putting Z's in.
Oh.
And get up to where I wanted to be. It says, it's from, is it Balak, who writes, "Hi, Pine Leaf and a beautiful girls. I am Balak the Guardian, also Freeman the Warden, too. Just became a Patreon member for the team. The last time I heard your voice, it was with Golden Star, Baby Hobbit, who's not too much a baby anymore, and Merrick. Took a few years off for the Hobbits and wife, and now I am back with Shield for some fun. My question for this week is, what are the difference for weapons? Should I pick sword because it's my race weapon, or an axe? Thanks. Balak the Guardian Man."
Interesting question.
I would
Well, the
probably
answer
go
is-
cosmetics on that.
Yeah, I mean, go with what suits your character. If you think your character should wield an axe, wield an axe. But if you're not wielding the sword that you, or whatever weapon your race typically wields that you have a bonus for, don't equip that bonus. Use that trait slot for something else.
Yeah, that's a nice, useful piece of advice. Right. Don't bother slotting a trait that you're not going to be using any.
And the different weapons sometimes do different things. Like, some of them will increase your parry chance by 1%, or damage the armor of the enemy you're fighting, or something like that. But it should all tell you in the tooltip of the weapon itself.
Right. Yeah, swords tend to add to parry skill, I believe, and axes have some sort of debuff on them. Spears have bleeds. And I don't remember what the rest of them are. Do any of you remember?
I think daggers help with critical chance.
All right, that makes sense.
I have no idea, because the only things I can really use on my higher level characters are the sword and a staff.
Oh, and you equip both of them.
I do equip both of them, and they're like I said, they're the only things I can use, so I just equip what I've got and hope for the best.
Yeah. So it's easy on the lore master to decide,
Very.
but it's a little trickier on some of the other class. Well, on Warrens, I prefer spears. I only resort to anything else as if otherwise my spear would be about, on a leveling character, would be about 5 or 10 levels out of sync of where I am currently. We also have a note from Big Ed. And Terry, what does Big Ed say?
Oh, Big Ed writes, Dear LOTRO Players News, I was listening to episode 258, The Dwarves Had Snacks, the other day when I became gravely concerned. Terry Adwin proclaimed that she had done nothing so far to prepare for the upcoming summer festival. I still haven't. Terry Adwin, like all LOTRO fans, will want to take a few simple steps to make sure she is prepared for the summer festival and to assure maximum fun. Number 1. Last year's fishing line should be recycled and fresh fishing line should be spooled onto your reels. The old line becomes brittle with time and is more easily broken. Yes, these are all fishing tips, none of which apply because we don't actually do all of this stuff in the game, but I thought this was hilarious. Number 2. Go through your tackle with a small file and take a little time to inspect and sharpen your hooks. Any bent or corroded hooks should be discarded and replaced. A sharp hook will result in more fish caught. It will also make unhooking and releasing unwanted fish unharmed easier as well. Number 3. Pull out your nets and stringers and inspect them for any frayed or torn sections. Better to fix these issues ahead of time rather than watching a trophy fish swim away through a hole in your net. Number 4. A quick inventory of your tackle box will help identify if you're short on bobbers, sinkers, split shot, or wire leaders. These really should all be like consumables that you can get in the game to increase your fishing chances. It might also help you remember that a friend borrowed your pliers or fillet knife last season and forgot to return it. Number 5, the summer sun can be harsh. Please follow Terry Adwin's example and find a fashionable floppy hat or sunbonnet to wear while enjoying the summer festival. A little bit of preparation will assure that everyone can enjoy a fun and successful summer festival. Thank you for sharing this important message with your listeners, and I will see you all at the fishing hole really soon. Big Ed Mustafa. Thank you for that, Big Ed.
Yes, and thank you for letting me borrow your pliers and fillet knife. I lost. No.
You lost them?
No, I didn't even actually borrow them, but that would be pretty funny if I had.
Thank you, Big Ed, for those tips, and I'm sure that we'll all take them to heart when we are preparing to fish.
Oh, Tired Dwarf says you could also pay somebody to spray water on you. Yes, because the fountain emote will be available in the summer festival. Recommended for all burglars everywhere, so you can spit from stealth.
Pretty sure you don't have to pay to have people spit on you, though. They'll just do it for fun.
Well, yeah.
If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotraplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, Lotro Players @LotroPlayers, Arandis @Arandis, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, Senswinda @Senswinda, Terry Adwin @TerryAdwin, and Cinders @Emeralina. The Players Alliance has 4 shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. USC time. We have DDO Players News, but please note that Drac is currently in the process of moving, so therefore it may be off the air for a couple of weeks as he is completing the move and getting his internet system set up. Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. US Caesar time, we have LOTRO Players News. Every other Thursday at 9:30 p.m. US Caesar time, we have XP Quest. And on the first Tuesday of each month at 9:30 p.m. US Caesar time, we have Chromatic Bits. And if you want to see our shows, you could go to lotraplayers.com/live. Okay, I guess listen is probably a more accurate term. And that is all for tonight. And this is Punk Mules reminding you to skirmish responsibly.